Hey Konrad,
Hello.
thanks for coming along and talking to us at Scottish Jazz Archive.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
And I thought I'd begin by just asking you how on earth you got into jazz in the first place.
Gosh, yeah. So it's quite a long, convoluted path. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Basically, I've always enjoyed music. As a kid, I always wanted to play the saxophone. After hearing a Dire Straits album, Brothers in Arms, back in the mid '80s, and we went on holiday to my aunt and uncle's place in Frankfurt in Germany. So that was quite a change of scene for us. And my uncle at the time, he was very into music, and I mean CD players really just came out. I suppose kind of mid '80s. We had all the gear, an amazing sound system, and of course that the album came out, Brothers in Arms, that Dire Straits classic, about 1986, and he had that on CD, and I was just absolutely blown away by that album. So I just had it on the entire time we were there in Frankfurt. And he had, I think he even had like the laser discs as well. And we were watching the Dire Straits in concert, and they had this guy in a white suit playing saxophone. And I didn't know at the time that was Michael Brecker. And I was just transfixed. I was like, oh my God, the sound is incredible. And so from that moment on, I just wanted to play the saxophone. So I just kind of pestered my parents. Can I get a saxophone? No. Can I get a saxophone? No. Learn the penny whistle first. So I learned the penny whistle. And can I get a saxophone? Not yet. So I learned the clarinet at school. So learn the clarinet. If you do well on that, we'll think about getting a saxophone. And so a few years passed. Learned the clarinet. I never really liked the sound of the clarinet back then, so I used to practice with cotton wool in my ears because I thought it was too screechy. And then eventually got to high school, passed some grades, and they're like, right, okay, you can get a saxophone now. So I got my first saxophone, and I just loved the sound of it. I had no idea really what I was doing, but I just loved to make up tunes, and I guess that's improvising. So. And then
So you were inspired by Dire Straits.
I was inspired by Dire Straits, yeah, and it's still one of my favourite albums today. It's incredible, yeah.
You didn't realise then that it was Michael Brecker,
No.
But at some point you did. So how did you get into the jazz thing from Dire Straits?
So just in school, one day my music teacher gave me a leaflet, and it was called the Glasgow Arts Centre, which is now kind of defunct, but it's just beside the Kingston Bridge in the centre of Glasgow, Argyll Street. And so basically it was jazz workshops. I had no idea what it was, but I thought it sounded like fun. And so my dad took me along one Saturday, and I walked into a classroom and just heard this great music. And I could hear Ryan Quigley on trumpet, Paul Townsend was there on sax, Alan Kosker was on drums. So I literally just met all these people, and I just loved what they were doing. I thought, this sounds great. I had no idea what I was doing, but it was Elliot Murray was taking it, and also John Gourley, Callum's dad, and Callum would later on come to be in that class. And it was just a Saturday morning, and just playing some great music, and just having some fun. And also just really, from that moment on, became friends with a lot of the people there, and our kind of mutual interest was jazz music. So that was me hooked. Every Saturday we'd go to the Glasgow Arts Centre, yeah.
How old were you then?
So I must have been about 14, maybe. Yeah, about 14, I think, yeah. So.
And did you know from that age that music was going to be your life then?
I don't know if it was going to be my life, but I knew it was going to be part of my life because I was just so absorbed by it all, and just really enjoyed it. I didn't feel any pressure at all. It was just felt very natural, and a great thing to do. And also I think from a social kind of aspect as well, just meeting kids your own age with a kind of mutual interest, and that really kind of brings you on musically as well. Because I was listening to Paul soloing, I was like, oh wow, what's he doing? So I was trying to copy. That, and that's how you learn. It's great.
And so were you a good student at school? Did you look after all of the other subjects as well as music?
Yeah, I think I did actually. Yeah, so probably coming from that kind of, my mum's was Polish, so coming over here, she always had that quite kind of strong kind of work ethic, and I suppose my granddad as well. So that was always, and my dad as well. Oh yeah, always had quite a really kind of positive outlook on things, and you're always encouraged to do the best that you could, you know. So yeah, it's always really, I tried really hard at school, and yeah. So at one point, I actually wanted to maybe move into my kind of later years at school. I thought about journalism. I was always into journalism. In fact, I actually applied. So I applied for music courses, but then just as I kind of knew that music was what I wanted to do. But just as a side, I thought, oh, I'll apply for. I was actually in Napier University, the journalism course, but I got rejected anyway. So that so that made light work of that. Yeah,
Excellent. And so you were successful in applying to a music course?
Yeah. So applied to music courses. I think so. I applied to, was it Leeds? So I think the choice was Leeds, and at that time Strathclyde University had obviously the BA Applied Music course. So I applied to those two, and I was a bit of a home bird. I didn't really want to leave home, but also all my friends, they were on this course as well. So Alan Coscar, Paul Towndrow, Ryan, they were all on the BA Applied Music course, and I thought, great. I mean, I know all these people here, and they were raving about the course as well. So I thought that would be a great thing to do. Yeah.
Excellent. So
Yeah.
you did an undergrad in.
So I did an undergrad, yes, and just kind of in between that time, Tommy Smith started up the thing called the National Jazz Institute. So it was actually him and Bobby Wishart that started that. So that was probably about maybe 95, maybe. So that kind of bridged the arts centre and going to uni, and that was kind of Saturday morning thing as well. So and a lot of people who are on the scene today were on that course. Stephen Duffy was on the course. Stuart Gorman, Paul Towndrow as well, Alan. So we all kind of mixed on that course as well, which was great.
Cool. And by this time, presumably you were gigging quite a lot already. And
yeah. So I just kind of started gigging. Yeah, that's right. My first paid gigs were, we all joined SIJO, which is the Strathclyde Youth Jazz Orchestra that was run by Bobby Wishart. So, and that was fun as well, you know. We used to rehearse in the Glasgow Art Club on Bath Street, which is a really nice place. And it felt nice just to be. You felt quite kind of grown up going into Glasgow with your saxophone and going to this nice place and rehearsing, you know, some great music and doing concerts. And then through Bobby, he had us playing a couple of nights a week. So on a Tuesday night we were in Russell's in Byres Road. He had a band there. And then on the Friday night we were in Borders bookstore in Buchanan Street in Glasgow. So yeah, when you're that age, you get 2 gigs a week, and you're making some money. It was great.
of course,
good fun.
Bobby just passed away recently.
I know, it's really sad. So yeah, just a few weeks ago. So yeah,
tragic that we didn't get to interview him.
I know, gosh, yeah. I mean, the stories he could have told you, yeah, incredible.
And such a huge influence on the Glasgow scene. Huh?
A massive influence. I mean, a lot of us wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Bobby. Certainly, he was really of the mind that just get out there and do gigs, and and he was really instrumental in that, so which was great. So yeah.
And then I think, I mean, I know a little bit about your history because we've known each other for so many years.
Yeah.
But then life took you to Berkeley.
Yeah. So I did 4 years on the BA Applied Music course at Strathclyde, which was fantastic, and their ethos was really the same. It was like, we want you gigging. That's part of your education, So that was really good. So in those 4 years, I was just gigging all over, meeting lots of different people, and I was a good boy. I put the money into a fund because I always wanted to go to Berkeley. And obviously Tommy had been there, and he was a real kind of advocate for the course, and so I auditioned and got a scholarship, which I mean, paid part of it, but paid kind of most of the fees, which was great. But then obviously just the living there and all those kind of expenses. So any money I made from gigs, I'd put like every week into this savings account, and I must have saved up over 10 grand or something. And then that basically paid for a year in Boston, which was great. So that's what I keep telling my kids,
And were you tempted to stay in the States? Or?
I looked into it. I would have liked to have done, but you need a kind of artist visa or a kind of a green card, obviously, to stay there, and that's quite hard to get. I probably could have if I tried. I probably could have, but I guess I mean you'd have to probably take on a job as well and that kind of thing. But I'm a bit of a home bird as well, so I was glad to come back to Scotland, and by that time I was a kind of member of the Scottish National Jazz Orchestra, so it kind of started maybe about 2001, 2002. So yeah, so that's quite a long time.
And you've held that chair ever since, haven't you?
Yeah, so pretty much, yeah. So that's been the last 20 odd years or so. Yeah. So it's been amazing. Yeah.
Because I guess you are probably, arguably, one of the most busy musicians in Scotland, and certainly one of the only people making a sort of full-time living out of it. Alongside teaching a little bit. But,
yes. Yeah.
But I think gigs probably make up the majority of your
I would
earnings.
say gigs, yeah, definitely. I enjoy teaching. It's it's great. It's very rewarding. And I think as well, it constantly keeps you on your toes as well, because that's the thing with jazz, and I think that's why I really kind of gravitated towards it. You're learning all the time. You're just constantly, every week I'm kind of like, oh gosh, right, I need to check this out or check this out, and it's a way of life, and it's. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Can you give us a kind of snapshot of, because I know that you play across a lot of genres. You don't just do the jazz thing.
Yes.
You haven't done Dire Straits perhaps, but it's a pretty diverse. Who are the kind of people that you're playing with?
Yeah, I mean it's on a weekly basis. I mean I would never say no to a gig. I think I kind of look at it as we're very lucky to be in this situation, to be able to make a living from music, and it is a tough industry to be in. And in Scotland, we've got an advantage. We've got a really kind of strong folk scene. We've got obviously a very strong jazz scene, rock and pop scene as well, and classical. So. I really enjoy just kind of dotting about different camps, and I think you can learn something from every kind of genre that you can, get into your own playing, and I think that should definitely be embraced.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I mean, you've played with Wet, and
yes,
and Scottish National Orchestra and RSNO,
and yourself,
and of course myself. Yes. Lest we forget.
And
then you've got your own projects also.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so I mean, it's over the years it's kind of ebbs and flows. Also depending who's around. I mean, in the kind of early, kind of mid 2000s, Ryan Quigley, trumpet player, he's got some connections over in Dublin with the great Brian Byrne, composer. He's now in Hollywood arranging music for big movies and things. And there was a period there where they were getting a lot of us over to fill out the so it's called the RTE Concert Orchestra. So that was great. You're kind of in your mid-20s and going over and working with this great orchestra and backing some great singers, musicians, and even got to do a tour with the dancer Bonnie Tyler, which was great, because we were kind of growing up watching her as a kid, so even just things like that was fantastic, and then obviously kind of moving into different bands, and then like Brass Jaw, kind of with Ryan Paul and Alon. A lot of touring with that, which was great. So yeah, I got to see a large part of the world, which was amazing, and doing that through music. And I think that education as well, just kind of getting out there and seeing the world is very important. And I think and that obviously kind of shapes who you are, and it kind of informs your music as well, and your choices, which is great.
Were you also in the European youth
Yes, that's right. So just after Boston, I came back and I was asked to do a tour of the European Jazz Orchestra, and that was amazing. So that was a kind of tour of Europe, which was great, and then just getting to be on the road for 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks with people from my age but different countries in Europe, and friendships that I made then that I've kept going for the last 20 years. In fact, I did a gig with the bass player Mark Demuth from Luxembourg a few months ago at St Bride's, which was amazing, and I hadn't seen him in about 10 years, and we still keep in touch, and we're talking about doing a project next year in Luxembourg as well, which is fantastic. So yeah, just getting to meet people, just like-minded individuals, and the highlight of that tour was the second leg we went to Brazil, which was amazing, and that was just wow. We got to meet Hermeto Pascoal as well. Got to play with him. That was incredible. In this kind of rainforest, just kind of outside Rio. Yeah, it was just like amazing. Just experiencing all that, and I think I kind of knew from that point. Yeah, this is what I'd like to do. It was great.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Journalism's lost.
Journalism's lost. That's it. Yeah.
So what's made you stay in Scotland? Because I mean, although Scotland arguably punches well above its weight in terms of population size in jazz, and has done for many years, it's not the easiest place to maybe make a living.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I did kind of think about moving to London a few years ago, but I'm very kind of family orientated, and I love Scotland as a country, and there's so much been set up now, kind of infrastructure wise, and through Bobby and Tommy as well. They've created this real kind of buzz, and so there are gigs here. I've always enjoyed travelling, so it's no hassle just to jump down to London, on the train, do the odd gig here and there. Now that I've got a young family, I'm glad to be based in Scotland as well, near family, which is great. And for me, I don't know if that's the kind of the Polish kind of roots coming through, but I mean, the main joy in life is family, and kids. And I don't think we would have had that experience if we had moved somewhere, down south. It's nice to visit occasionally, which is great. But I think as well, Scotland, we are connected to Europe, and we need to obviously, what's happened, but these links are there, and we need to, work on that, and we should all be connected. Globally, and it's nothing just to jump on a flight, as to to Scandinavia, France, Germany. So that should be encouraged, and Scotland is open for business. We have some great artists coming here, and
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you think over your career, because you've been at it long enough now, I suppose, to have a little bit of reflection. Do you think things have changed in the last? I'm guessing you've been kind of at it for about 20 years.
Yeah, I know. Gosh, and it's funny because I still feel like I'm just getting started as well. Just it's time literally does fly. I think a lot's changed in the last 20 years. Well, I mean, when I obviously went to uni, there wasn't a dedicated full-time jazz course per se, although. You've got the courses at Napier, obviously, and at Glasgow University, which are fantastic. Tommy Smith set that up kind of the late 2000s. So now we have a kind of full-time jazz course, which is amazing. So that's quite a big change. Obviously, before that, if you wanted to do that, you'd have to go to Leeds or London, to do, or Birmingham to do, that course.
And how do you think that's changed the Scottish jazz scene?
You've got a lot of younger players who are extremely good at a very young age, and they're a lot of them are choosing to stay in Scotland as well, so they're kind of setting up their own kind of gigs and tours and things. So it's really kind of injected a kind of a breath of fresh air into the whole thing, which is amazing. When we were coming up, I think, and still to this day, we're very much kind of looked up to, our kind of the people maybe slightly older than ourselves, like obviously like yourself. So when I started playing, I was like, great, now I was able to play with you, and that was a real kind of learning experience, and it's like passing down that kind of knowledge. And what was funny, I remember when I first started gigging in Edinburgh, I think in the 80s, I think there'd always been a bit of a, strangely, like a Glasgow-Edinburgh divide, jazz-wise. So that's probably a generation or so before me. So both cities has a very strong kind of jazz kind of presence, but you're very much either Glasgow, based musician, or Edinburgh-based musician. And then when I started kind of coming through, I mean, I just, I regard myself equally Edinburgh, Glasgow. I don't, it's fine. But I was getting to meet players like Brian Kellogg, the Ray dynasty, getting to play with John and Gina, and obviously the Bancrofts as well. And so just getting to meet these people was fantastic. And I mean, getting to hear Phil Bancroft play, I was just like, wow. When I heard Phil play the first time, I was just like, it just blew my mind. It was incredible. I was just like, this is amazing. So really just, going to gigs and then getting to play with these people as well. I just thought, this is the way to learn. This is incredible. And likewise in Glasgow, so I was getting to play with Bobby at that point as well, and a lot of great musicians from the Glasgow side, who basically were, in the 50s, 60s, they were playing like 7 nights a week, because I mean there was live music, back then. And then obviously I think the kind of 80s was a bit of a dip there, just getting to play with them, but just getting to chat to them, just getting to hear their stories as well, which was great. And I think what I loved about it was, if you spoke to them, they would happily give their time to you, and they would just treat you. They wouldn't even regard the age gap. They would just chat to you like an old friend, which I thought was great. And as a result, a lot of my friends now are like in their 70s and their 80s. Ken Matheson, for example. I mean, I'll go down to Ken's, for a beer and just sit, and he'll just put on vinyl from Brazil when they lived there, and we'll just sit back and just listen, and he'll tell me, just about all different music, and that's for me, that's what music's about. It's about sharing it, it's about passing it on, it's about creating friendships. And I think in some lines of work, I don't think you would get that experience, if I maybe, I don't know, maybe if I did become a journalist, I don't know if I would have access to such a rich kind of tapestry of people and experiences, whereas being a musician, you're always kind of, it's a social occupation as well, You're never on your own. You're always with people, which is amazing. So I could see obviously how the things had changed for them, and they were always telling me, back in my day, I was out 7 nights a week working, in Glasgow, just playing like in big bands and in shows and things, and then obviously that work kind of dried up, and actually Derek Brackpool, trombonist as well, who's now my next door neighbour, was actually a teacher at my school, and he was a big influence as well. He used to come in and give me records and say, you should check this out, and we used to rehearse in Glasgow. I mean, Glasgow's got a real kind of history of, I don't know, maybe more so in Edinburgh, kind of big band history. It probably does, doesn't it? So 20 years ago, if you go into Glasgow on a Saturday, you probably have your pick of about 10 big bands to go and see, and now there's still a few kicking about, and but as a teenager, we were welcomed into these bands, Timberella, George McGowan big band, Lauders big band. Once they heard that you can play and read a bit, they're like, yep, absolutely, come in, sit in. And we would rehearse with Timberella's band on a Sunday afternoon at the always tended to be in pubs. So you learn to get a taste for beer quite early on. But it was a social thing, which was great, and we'd rehearse the band. But then at Clockwork, usually after about an hour, we're like, right, down tools, everyone to the bar, getting a pint. And then I'll be standing at the bar having a pint with Derek and just telling us about their days in the BBC with Scottish Radio Orchestra as well, which sounded like an amazing thing as well. Such a shame that had to go. Yeah, I do remember thinking, I was like, well, a lot of these opportunities are now gone. It's like, what is there for me to be doing, So I think part of it is you have to kind of create your own path as well, which could be probably pretty daunting, but quite rewarding at the same time,
And do you think it's the same for today's young musicians, like graduating from RCS or whatever? Is there still that intergenerational link?
I think there is. I mean, I'm probably looked at as one of the old guys now, so we certainly kind of play gigs together, and I think maybe not quite as, I don't know, I mean, I sound like an old man, but maybe society has changed in a way, it's I think a lot of these, but maybe the graduates from these courses, some of them are kind of moving away, maybe going abroad, or a lot of them are going to London as well, because obviously it's everything's still very kind of London centric. But I don't know if there's, I mean, certainly, I've got a gig in the Jazz Festival with some younger players, Stephen Henderson, what's his band, fantastic drummer, Fergus McCready, incredible pianist, and David Bowden as well, and bass, amazing bass player, and it's myself and Graham Stevens. So I guess we're like the old codgers in the band, trying to keep up with these young Turks, So it's but it's great because it really keeps you on your toes. Yeah.
I mean, something that was sort of pointed out in one of the other interviews was, if you think about like Stan Getz, for example.
Of course, yeah.
He didn't really hit the big time until he'd done 25 years of hard labour, as it were, paying dues or whatever.
Yes,
whatever's always talked about in the jazz mythology.
Yes,
And the observation of that interviewee was that if you go to RCS or equivalent, you come out already with your own products, and you haven't learned all the standards, and you don't necessarily have the chops or skills to sit in and.
Yes, I think that's a good point, because I think that's why gigging is so important. Yeah, and exactly, paying your dues, like playing it, as much as possible, and I really kind of embrace that, because playing with a lot of different people, you learn different types of tunes as well. So, playing with Ken's band, we're playing material from like the 1920s, which is stuff that I would never have checked out before, and but I'm so glad I did, like John Russell as well. That's it's so great to play with John. He has certain tunes that he loves that maybe not a lot of people play. Roy Percy as well, it's just absorbing, and I wouldn't say I would never say no to any type of jazz. I think it's all really valid. Again, it really kind of informs your own playing,
across your years of playing, and you have done a lot of gigs, Konrad. Sometimes 3 a day. Have you got any kind of standout memory that where it just suddenly felt?
Just felt good. Yeah.
Or was that every gig for you?
It's every gig. I mean, there's some gigs that really do stand out. I think I just love playing. I just love the kind of physical act of just making some noise on the saxophone, and as a result, I just love playing it. Yes. yeah, some challenging gigs, maybe so, not so challenging gigs, but I think as long as you give it 110%, every time, and you come away feeling good, and it's your sense of purpose as well, isn't it? And you feel through that you can hopefully deliver some good energy into the world. I think if I was doing something else, I don't. I think I would struggle to be an accountant or something, or give it as much. Yeah.